Yo, what is going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the NBA slate on DraftKings for Wednesday, February 7th. Just a 6-game slate today on this Wednesday, so kind of a short slate for a Wednesday. But like always, guys, we're going to go through each position, talk about this slate, talk about each position and where we want to go, if we want to pay up, mid-tier plays, value plays, what I see the night before. And before we get started looking at this slate, if you guys could drop a like on the video, I would really appreciate it. And if you are new to the channel, then make sure you click that subscribe button so you'll never miss out on any of my new uploads. I do upload daily. But yeah, guys, starting off at point guard on today's 6-game slate. Not a position I really want to pay up at today, at least looking at this slate the night before. I don't think Harden and Chris Paul are two guys I'm really trying to jam in on this slate. There are other studs I prefer. We'll talk about Anthony Davis. He's definitely my favorite stud on this slate. Not going to be paying up for Harden. Oladipo is questionable for today, so we're not sure if he's going to play. Devin Booker is unlikely to play. It looks like he's already been ruled out, I believe. So really, besides Harden and Paul, we don't have a lot of options to pay up for. I think we can definitely go to this mid-tier at point guard today. I think there are some good plays here. Starting off with Jrue Holiday in this mid-tier. He is a guy that I do like today at 7,500 in a matchup against the Pacers. Just without Boogie off the court, Jrue Holiday sees such a big bump in usage. Going to have the ball in his hands a lot, especially with Rondo only playing like 15 to 20 minutes a night. Holiday's been playing well without Boogie this year, and whenever AD's missed, he's had big games as well. But without Boogie, the usage is there. The DraftKings scoring has been there. His last 4 games has given you a solid floor of about 33, 34 points from him. You know what you're going to get from Holiday, and he has that 50-point upside that you love in tournaments. So he's a really good cash play on the slate. You can go there in tournaments as well. Definitely like Jrue Holiday in that mid-tier. Another guy that I really like, been on him a lot lately, Ricky Rubio, 6,700 in a matchup against Memphis. Really like Rubio here. Just been playing so well lately. His last 4 games, he's put up 48, 40, 50, and 41 DraftKings points. Has put up over 40 DK points in 4 straight games. The minutes have been there for Rubio. In competitive games, he's playing over 30 minutes, close to 35 minutes every night if the game's competitive. This game against Memphis does have a chance to be a blowout, which does concern me a tad bit. But as long as Rubio's continuing to see 30-plus minutes a night, I think he's worth this $6,700 price tag. He can easily get 6x on this price. So I like Rubio in that mid-tier as well. Even though he's starting to get a little bit expensive, I think he's worth that price tag today at $6,700. And I think those are the plays in the mid-tier that I like if I'm going to that price range. I think Dejounte Murray is also a play you could go to in this mid-range. Great matchup here against the Suns. Love to attack the Suns with point guards and pretty much at all positions. They're just such a bad defensive team. Murray has been a little inconsistent lately. The minutes have started to trend down a tad bit. He's only played 24 and 22 minutes his last 2 games, which is a bit concerning. But just given this matchup, I think you can consider Murray here. I think I'd rather get up to Rubio, rather get up to Jrue Holiday. But Murray is a guy that you can use if you do need some savings. One guy that stands out to me as just being too cheap. Seems like Jeff Teague's a tad bit too cheap today in a matchup against the Cavs. This is a great matchup. Cavs are so bad defensively right now. Isaiah Thomas, a terrible defender. We all know this. You could play Jeff Teague here, especially given that price tag of $5,700. That does seem like too cheap of a price. He's one more guy that I see in that 5K range. But then going for the value, going sub 5K, I think we can go back to the Suns today. Tyler ULIS, 4,400 in a matchup against the Spurs. Not the best matchup, but it doesn't look like Devin Booker is going to play today. So ULIS is probably going to start again. I am recording this video on Tuesday night before that Lakers-Suns game start. So I'm not really sure how ULIS finished out on Tuesday night. Hopefully he had a good game because I did play him in plenty of lineups. Even if he doesn't play that well, I still think we can go back to ULIS here against the Spurs, especially if he's going to start and going to continue to see the minutes. If Booker remains out, Tyler ULIS, a value play I see. The other guy I did want to mention, Cory Joseph at 4,600 in a matchup against the Pelicans. This is a great matchup. Darren Collison's going to be out for the next 2 to 3 weeks. So Joseph's going to be starting at point guard. For the Pacers, he did start their last game against Washington and played 36 minutes. Was pretty disappointing. Only put up 15 DraftKings points, but the minutes were there. The minutes are going to continue to be there with Collison out. And if Oladipo's out as well, that's just more usage to go towards Cory Joseph. So he is another guy that I like for value. Him and Tyler Ulis are 2 guys that I see that you can use cheap at this position, 5K and under. But that's what I'm seeing at point guard. So moving on to shooting guard and looking at this position, another position I don't really want to pay up at today. Not really a big fan of Jimmy Butler's price tag at $9,500. I feel like that is a tad bit too expensive. Don't want to pay that much of a price for him. You got plays in this mid-tier that I've already talked about, like Jrue Holiday. You can play at shooting guard. I think he's a guy you can go to in this mid-tier. Really like Andrew Wiggins today in this mid-tier. He is one of my 5 plays. 6,100 going up against the Cavs. Wiggins has played so well against the Cavs just throughout his career, ever since he got traded from Cleveland to Minnesota. He did play pretty well against the Cavs earlier this year, putting up 35 DraftKings points in 30 minutes. He's obviously got the narrative of going back to Cleveland to face the team that pretty much let him go for Kevin Love. And I think Wiggins does try and play well when he goes up against Cleveland. He took 19 shots against the Cavs earlier this year. He takes a lot of shots when he goes up against them. If you pull up StatMuse and look at his game logs against the Cavs, like ever since he got traded, he's had some really nice games against them. So I like Wiggins here. I think you can easily get 6x on this price tag. 36 DraftKings points is definitely possible for Wiggins in this spot. So he's the guy that I like. You can use as shooting guard or small forward today at 6,100. And then another guy, 2 guys I really like in that mid-tier at shooting guard or small forward. Both of them are eligible at both positions. Lance Stevenson, 5,800, going up against the Pelicans. Love Lance here. If Victor Oladipo does not play today, he is questionable as I'm recording this Tuesday night, so make sure you're keeping up with news. If Oladipo does play, won't have much exposure to Lance, especially now that he's priced up. But if Oladipo is out, Lance is going to start at shooting guard. He's going to play a ton of minutes, play 38 minutes. Their last game against Washington with Oladipo out, and put up 34 DraftKings points, had an all-around solid game. We know Lance is going to do so much when he's on the court. Going to score, going to grab rebounds, going to dish out assists. Just a great play on the slate. Too cheap at 5,800 if he is indeed starting with Oladipo, questionable. And then another guy that I like from the Pacers. I think this is a team we're definitely going to be looking to target today because a lot of their guys seem underpriced. Lance, Corey Joseph, BOJAN Bogdanovic, another guy I like at 5,200 in that same matchup going up against the Pelicans. He does see a big bump if Oladipo's out. We already know that Collison's going to be out. He played 37 minutes in their last game and put up 43 DraftKings points with both of those guys out. Took 15 shots in that game, so they're going to need him to score the ball if Oladipo remains out today. And he didn't see much of a price increase at all. He's still pretty cheap at 5,200. Even when Oladipo's played this year, Bojan's been able to get you 25 to 30 DK points. If Oladipo's out, the 35-40 is definitely a possibility. So I like him and Stevenson from the Pacers today. And you obviously can't go wrong with Corey Joseph either. Those are guys I definitely think you want to target on this slate. But that's it for shooting guard in the mid-tier. So going for cheap value. Not really sure if this is a position I want to try and find cheap value at. I think this mid-tier is really loaded today, like with the Pacers guys. I think those are guys that we're going to be targeting. You can play Wiggins in that mid-tier as well if you want to go to him. But that's what I'm seeing for shooting guard, at least plays that really stick out to me. So moving on to small forward. Looking up top here, you got LeBron, 10-9 going up against Minnesota. Not a big fan of this matchup for LeBron. The Cavs are on a back-to-back, just not a guy that I think I'm going to be paying up for today. He's going to see plenty of Jimmy Butler defense, and we obviously know Butler's a good defender. Even though LeBron is priced under 11K and he's only 10-9, that is a cheap price. Just not a big fan of him. Just other studs I prefer on the slate. Not going to be paying up for LeBron. I think Butler's overpriced. Not sure if I'm paying up for small forward on the slate in general. So this is another position. We can go to this mid-range. TJ Warren, 6,300 against the Spurs. Not a good matchup, but if Devin Booker's out again today, which it looks like he's going to be, we can definitely go to TJ Warren here. I believe his price actually decreased just given the matchup against the Spurs. So you're getting TJ Warren at a really cheap price, especially if Booker's out. So he's a really good play in that mid-range if you want to go to him at small forward. Hopefully he plays well Tuesday night. Like I said, I'm recording this video before that Lakers-Suns game starts. Did have Warren in a lot of lineups, so I really need him to play well. But that's really it for the mid-range, at least plays that stick out to me. I think Warren's the guy that I want in that mid-tier if that's where I'm going. So trying to find value at small forward. Not seeing a lot of value plays either that really stick out to me as being great options. I think small forward, pretty gross position. The plays I really like here, pretty much TJ Warren. You could play Josh Jackson at 5,700 if you want to go to him. Maybe you could play like Thad Young. But I think the play that really sticks out here, definitely in my opinion, is TJ Warren, just 6,300. But that's really it for small forward. Kind of went through that position quickly, but just not a lot of good plays I see that stick out to me. So moving on to power forward, definitely a position I want to pay up at today. Anthony Davis, 11-6, going up against the Pacers. Love AD here. This Pacers team is just so bad at defending centers. AD has moved to center. He's not playing power forward anymore. He's moved to center since Boogie's now done for the season. So this is a great matchup for Anthony Davis. Did put up a nice score of 69 DraftKings points earlier this year against the Pacers. Played 41 minutes against them. So he's done well against this team once this year. I think he has another solid game today. Still too cheap in my opinion. I think Anthony Davis should be at least $12,000 on DraftKings if Boogie's ever out. So you're still getting him at a discount, I feel like. He's going to give you a floor. The ceiling we obviously know is there. Anthony Davis, just a good cash play, tournament play, all-around good play on the slate. Definitely my favorite guy to pay up for. There are other options you can go to at power forward. If you don't want to pay up for AD, you could play Blake at 9K against Brooklyn. LMA 8,400 against the Suns. That's a great matchup, but just not sure I'm really jamming in those guys today. I think if I'm paying up at this position, Anthony Davis is definitely a guy that I want. So looking at other plays we could consider, you could play MIROTIC. He is coming off a pretty disappointing game against the Jazz, where he only put up 12 DraftKings points, played 33 minutes, has played nice minutes in the 2 games that he's been with the Pelicans this year. Played 35 minutes in his debut, and then played 33 minutes in his last game. Did start his last game against the Jazz. You could play MIROTIC, but he is kind of priced up to 6,500. Not sure if I'd want to pay him over TJ Warren if we're talking about guys that are power forward eligible. I think I prefer Warren to MIROTIC today. But looking at other plays in this mid-range, you could play maybe Taj Gibson at 5,400. He seems a tad bit underpriced. Definitely a good matchup there against the Cavs. You could go there. But that's really what I'm seeing for power forward. Just not a good position in my opinion. Maybe like Tristan Thompson if you need to go cheap here. You could play him just 4,300. He's probably going to have to see 25 to 30 minutes here. They're going to need him on Karl-Anthony Towns. They're going to need him to help guard Taj Gibson as well. Thompson should see the minutes, and he can easily get you a double-double if he plays 25 to 30 minutes. So I do like Thompson if you're wanting to go cheap here. And then you obviously have, like, in this 5K range, you could play Gibson, 5,400, especially in cash. I like that. But that's really what I'm seeing for power forward. At least plays that stick out to me. So let's go ahead and move on to center and look up top here. Definitely got some plays up top we have to consider. You got Drummond in a great matchup against Brooklyn. You got Karl-Anthony Towns going up against the Cavs. If we're talking about expensive options on the slate, I don't think these are the guys I'm really trying to jam in. This is obviously a great matchup for Drummond. But at 9,800, you need at least 50 DraftKings points really for him to pay off this price tag. He can obviously get there. He's played well alongside Blake this year. He's had some nice games even with Blake on the court, but just at 9,800, I think I'd rather just try and get up to Anthony Davis on this slate, or maybe just go to some of those like 7K, 6K guys. Just not sure if Drummond, Towns, Griffin, even LMA, not sure if these are guys I'm really trying to jam in. There's definitely one center play for value that we'll talk about that I think is probably going to be a lock today. So I'm not sure if I'm really going to be paying up for center. This is a position I think we can go to the mid-range and find value. I do really like Miles Turner in this mid-range at 5,600 going up against the Pelicans. I think this is a spot where we see Turner play plenty of minutes if he can stay out of foul trouble. I was pretty high on him the other day against the Sixers, and he got into early foul trouble, only played 15 minutes in that game, was really disappointing. He's only put up 8 and 12 DraftKings points his last 2 games, so he's been disappointing lately, but like I said, if Turner can stay out of foul trouble here, he's going to have to play minutes. They're going to need him to guard Anthony Davis. Did play 35 minutes earlier this year against the Pelicans and put up 42 DraftKings points. So I do like Turner in that mid-range, just 5,600. If you want to play him, you could go there. You could play Jarrett Allen at 5,100 against Detroit. He's probably going to have to play plenty of minutes, 25 to 30 minutes, a reasonable projection for Allen here. Going to need him on Andre Drummond. Going to need him on Blake Griffin. So you could play Turner, you could play Gibson, and Jarrett Allen, 3 guys I do see in that 5K range that I like. But then going for the value, this is where I see a pretty easy play today. Just 4,200, Alex Len, going up against the Spurs. I think Alex Len's going to be a pretty popular option today, but for good reason. The Suns are on a back-to-back, and there's a good chance that Tyson Chandler rests today. We already know that Greg Monroe, no longer on the Suns. Tyson Chandler, if he rests, will be out as well. So Alex Len's pretty much the only healthy center that the Suns have for today if Chandler does indeed rest. And if that is the case, there's a good chance Len has to play at least 30 minutes here. And even though it's not the most ideal matchup against the Spurs, if Len plays 25 to 30 minutes, he can easily get 6, 7, even 8x on this price. He's a great play on this slate if Tyson Chandler rests. And with it being a back-to-back, I think there's a good chance he does. So love Len here for value. Going to be pretty popular, but for good reason. But that's really what I'm seeing at center. At least plays that really stick out to me. So I think that's pretty much it for this position. I think that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, just make sure you give it a like. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you click that subscribe button. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT, or just leave a comment down below. And I will try and get back to your question as soon as I can. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching, and good luck tonight on this slate. Peace, guys.